Hey, Sari Torres here, and you're once again stuck in the existential crisis corner. Today we're going to talk about 8 different ways you can use animals in your story. Now, when we think about characters in our stories, we usually think about human characters, obviously, or at least human-like characters, but we don't always think about using animals in our stories. And there's a lot of different ways you can utilize that. It's a lot different than having just a human there because it's going to be limiting in some aspects, and it may even open other things up in some aspects. So I'm going to talk about 8 different ways you can add an animal to your story and 8 different things you can get out of it. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is using animals as a guide to your main character or to a different character. And this is sort of an old-fashioned thing to do. You see it a lot in old Disney movies, Aslan in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all of the Narnia books. You've got the bear from Golden Compass, Luna in Sailor Moon.
You're the only one who can defeat this enemy.
And it gives them sort of an otherworldly air to them if they are giving advice to the main character and they're an animal. It gives them a supernatural quality to them that may give them a higher level of authority, and it also can add a little bit of comic relief to their characters in certain parts. A second way that you could add an animal to your story is to be used as a reflection of a character's personality. What this means is that in a way, the animal is almost like an accessory to the character. If you think about the cat in The Godfather, when he's sitting in his chair, it's so iconic that it's been copied so many times. And the reason it's so iconic is because it's such a great reflection of his character, because he is also very calm but deadly in a way. Just like a cat can be calm and all of a sudden flip out and scratch your face. If you want a little fun fact, the cat in The Godfather was actually found on the set, and he decided to use him in the film. So that was completely just unscripted. Next, we've got what is mine, and what I'm sure is a lot of other people's least favorite use of an animal in a story, is as the sacrificial lamb. This is where the animal is put in pretty much just to die. Um, when this is done wrong, you don't care about the animal. A lot of horror movies do this wrong, where it's just the the dog is there, and you kind of already know that he's gonna die, and then he dies. And it's like maybe the first big death that the killer does, and then it goes on to people. Oh no. The death isn't really meaningful to the story. It's just sort of easy for the writer to do. So if you're gonna use this technique, don't go the easy way. Some ones off the top of my head is the bunny rabbit in Fatal Attraction, the dog in Secret Window. The reason why this does work in some situations is because we're giving an emotional tie to the character, the animal. We're given this emotional tie to them sort of automatically just because of the fact that they're an animal. Whereas a human character would have to earn that sort of emotional connection. So it may take more time to get that emotional connection and get the same sort of response from your reader of sadness or horror. If you see a puppy, you're automatically gonna be like, yeah, I like that puppy. I hope that puppy lives. And if that puppy dies, you're gonna be freaking upset no matter what. Also, this technique can be used to kill a character in a way that would seem savage otherwise, much like the Fatal Attraction scene with the bunny in the pot of boiling water. The haters of this technique have spawned a website called Does the Dog Die? But it'll actually let you know if you're gonna watch a movie and there's a dog in it, and you're scared that little bitch is gonna die. You can make sure to get your tissues ready or to just skip that movie altogether. On the flip side of that, in a way, is our next technique, which is to be used as a sort of example of character empathy. This sort of goes off the idea that how someone will treat those who are lesser than them is a real example of their personality. The other character that has a scene like this is the Punisher, which is there's a scene in Daredevil where he's being tortured and he doesn't care. You can torture him all he wants. But then they bring in his dog and the minute they try to torture the dog, the minute they try to touch the dog, he gives in. And that says a lot about his character, in that he doesn't really care about himself, but he cares about those that are maybe of less strength than him, um, those that he wants to protect. And then, of course, on the flip side of this, it can show you how inhumane the character is if they abuse animals. I mean, if you think about the henchman sort of animal that goes with the Disney villain, they're usually very heavily abused by the villain. Okay, next one. An animal can be used in your story as a sort of movable tool, as I'm going to call it. Now, what does that mean? That means that an animal can move objects or objectives, something in the story, without having any sort of reason to. So when you use an animal character in this sense, it's almost as a sort of act of God scenario, that it's just nature making this thing happen. The chicken in Moana, it's the the writers of the film called it the stupidest character Disney's ever made, like literally IQ wise. And it's, as I was watching the film, I realized he was really just being used as a tool. There was a particular scene where they lose this pendant, and the chicken kind of, in some ways, makes it worse, and in some ways, makes it better. And those sort of acrobatic here and there sort of things couldn't have been done without that animal character present. Because obviously, one of the characters isn't going to make things harder for themselves. So if the animal does it, it depersonalizes those actions. So it helps us as writers to maneuver certain objects or things within the story without actually having to make a character want that to happen. And my favorite, a trope that I did not even realize until I started making this video, is of Disney animal characters being used to unlock doors. Yeah, I know Olaf's not an animal, but he's kind of an animal. Okay, next one, we have animals used as a symbol in a story. And this one's pretty straightforward. It may be something your readers may only find in the third read through, but this is something that you can really make something impactful happen with this. You can have your whole story revolve around it, such as Moby Dick. He just wanted to catch that damn whale, but he couldn't, and it all sort of symbolizes the power of nature, nature versus man. And my favorite of the animal symbols, even though it makes me so sad, I don't know if I should be throwing out a spoiler alert for this, but if you are making your way through Harry Potter and haven't read book 7, here's your warning. Hedwig as the symbol of childhood innocence. When she dies at the beginning of the story, it's kind of like, oh, J.K. Rowling is not effing around with this one. And it's also just like, oh, there goes the joy of childhood from Harry Potter's life. The next one, this one's a lot of fun, is an animal as a partner in crime. Ones I can think of off the top of my head, I Am Legend, um, every damn princess movie ever.
Except you, Rajah.
Ash and Pikachu, Mario and Yoshi, Turner and Hooch, which, you might want to look at that website before you watch that movie, that website I was talking about. The dog dies. It's really sad. The whole point of this partners in crime sort of thing is there is an interdependence with each other. So there's going to be things that Mario can't do without Yoshi, and obviously Yoshi's going to need Mario to tell him where to go. And that sort of interdependence also, it's sort of given a little bit extra flavoring in the fact that the animal portion usually can't respond or communicate in the same way the human does. So they've got this sort of partnership between two completely different species of completely different intelligences, sometimes. And that can really add an interesting flair to your story. Last but not least, we have the point of view animal.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
And we see this a lot in stories for children, obviously. And I think this grows from children's natural fascination with animals when they're young, and from being able to better understand things in first person. We're beginning more and more to see this sort of thing in books. Call of the Wild is an obvious one. The Art of Racing in the Rain, which I absolutely love. My heart broke in like paragraph 1. So it's not for the light of heart. But it really offers a unique perspective because it's a perspective that we can't fully relate to. There's a lot of speculation that has to be done in order to write from an animal's perspective. I would I would expect you to have to spend a lot of time with that sort of animal. And using this sort of perspective can also give you, if it's set in a human world, in a human civilization sort of setting, it can almost give you a sort of fly on the wall perspective. Art of the Racing in the Rain had this a lot, where there were very human things happening, drama happening, and stuff like that, but the dog was not involved. And the dog would just sort of witness these things happening. And we, as the readers, would understand what was happening, but the narrator wouldn't sometimes. And it gives a really interesting feel to the book. And it also gives you the illusion of a shared experience with this animal that would otherwise be impossible. I mean, I'd love for my dog to tell me about his day, but it's not going to happen.
My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel!
So I hope that if you're planning on using animals in your writing or your work of fiction, that you keep these ideas in mind, and also remember that they can be mixed up. You can combine them, make it interesting, do whatever you want. It's your own damn work. Okay, one other last way you can use animals is to end your vlog. So I'm Sari Torres. This is the Existential Crisis Corner. Stay weird.